The next and possibly even the last major video you need to see is about naval warfare. And frankly, when I say naval warfare, we need to talk about just generally why does England as a place care about naval warfare? But it's just visible when you look at England on a map. England is an island country. We are not connected by mainland to anyone else. For Britain to get to anyone, they need to use ships. So ships and transport and trade and even war have all been connected to ships in English past. Now, the thing is, we're looking at Elizabethan England, right? We're looking at how does Elizabeth change things. See, Henry VIII was the one who's probably put the most investment into, should we say, sea power before Elizabeth. The treatment was that, should we say, this is the best defense is a good offense, or a strong defense is the best offense, pardon. Essentially, protecting Britain with ships rather than using them to attack. See, the thing is, Elizabeth is going to change that. See, for Henry, ships are a method of battle, or a method to get to a battle, to protect yourself. But for Elizabeth, they are the battle warfare scene. They are the things that are going to fight against each other. That's the new change. Now, I found it really hard to communicate to people how ship fighting work without ever going onto a ship. But two ships fighting look like this. They do not sit down and stare at each other from a long distance away, just stood there as if they were on land. Ships are always moving. They are being blown and they want to avoid things. So the ships genuinely will come at each other and, should we say, drive by past each other again and again and again, shooting and firing and throwing things to each other, which creates a lot of problems. It's really hard to actually have a sea battle without, well, all of these things coming in. You could miss your opponent. The opponent is moving. You are yourself constantly moving. So it's going to be hard to even aim something. What happens if you run out of ammunition? You can't get any more, so you're screwed if that happens. You are yourself a large target, so you can't pause and sit there. You will be a sitting duck if you stop, so you need to keep moving. Ships are made of wood, and the cloth used in sails is also very flammable. So if anyone gets you with fire, your ship is also screwed. And frankly, because of all the other problems we've mentioned, it's really hard to get onto another ship to take it over. Ship battles are extensive, long slogs of fighting that are really, really hard to manage. And frankly, a number of things meant that this, well, occurred. See, first thing we need to know is that rather than actually getting the ships to fight each other, no one wanted to do that. It's really hard to do and it takes a really long time. So raiding and stealing was the better plan. We know already about Sir Francis Drake taking over Spanish ships, raiding ports, stealing ships and things. The raid on Cadiz in Spain was a really good example where they just set everything on fire in Cadiz, basically. And Elizabeth was paying privateers to do this kind of raiding tactic against other people in naval warfare. But there is a way to make naval warfare better. There is a way to make naval warfare more valuable. And you need to know two key methods. One is called fire ships and one is called the line of battle. A fire ship is quite simple. If you win a naval battle, you're probably going to have another ship ready. The people on that ship have probably given up and surrendered rather than sink and die. So those old ships that aren't yours, that probably you don't care about, why not set them on fire? And set the steering and just let it go off towards somebody. Remember, fire is the big fear, and fire can spread really, really fast in a naval fleet, or even in a town or harbour where there's lots of wood and lots of things that can catch easily. These fire ships would cause chaos. They would cause communication to break down, and they would cause an enemy fleet of ships to basically lose formation. And that's interesting. Formation of ships is really important. See, the other one is called the line of battle, where basically, because ships fired straight towards you, the side of the ship had their cannons to fire off in one single direction. They're not firing straight ahead, they're firing left or right. Basically, ships would line up and get into a straight line so they could fire a long range of ships, should we say like this, rather than single shots that could easily miss. One is to make sure that they, should we say, hit their target, and the other is to disorganize the enemy so that they cannot hit you. Both of these new tactics meant that Elizabethan England, or Elizabethan sailors, were particularly good at warfare, because this would be how they would defend their trade, this would be how they would defend their colonists, and this would be how they'd defend their country against a foreign attack like the Spanish Armada. And frankly, all of these other technologies you've heard about have had an impact. We know that ships are faster and more manoeuvrable because of land-T sails. We know that ships have more powerful weapons like cannons on them because of our Voyager's stuff, and we know that ships were more accurate at navigating because of the astrolabe. You know loads about these things, but just think about how they affect warfare. How does that mean that they can fight and win? If you can recount all of the stuff I've said today, why it's important for naval warfare, all the problems associated with it, and how English sailors went on to make, should we say, to succeed in naval battle, then you're okay. The Spanish Armada is an optional moment in here. It's a historical environment study, which is probably not going to come up in the exam, but it's a good example of naval warfare if you really need something to get in your brain about how this fighting works. But anyways, thank you for listening. I'll see you later.